Law enforcement in Chicago on alert after hundreds of protesters clashed with police outside of an ICE processing center on Friday. The tense back and forth leading to more than a dozen arrests as the debate over the Trump administration's immigration efforts heats up. Connor Hansen has the very latest for us today. Hey, Connor.
Hey, Kevin, this was just the latest clash we've seen outside that Chicago area ICE facility. 21 people were arrested and 4 police officers were hurt. Some of those arrests were caught on camera after hundreds descended on the processing center in Broadview. Demonstrators allegedly blocked traffic and refused orders to leave the area after crossing police barricades. It's the latest flashpoint in the debate over the Trump administration's immigration tactics.
This is not making people safer at this point. They're not going after criminals. They're just going after everybody.
And this comes after a federal judge ordered the release of hundreds of ICE detainees on bond into an alternative detention program. The court told DHS anyone who poses a, quote, high public safety risk can remain locked up.
As far as what we're arresting, it hovers around 64 to 70% of criminals. And who are the others, 30%, which the media ignores? A lot of them are national security threats.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker claims ICE and Border Patrol will be winding down their operations there. Local leaders are celebrating the news, but immigration officials say they won't be letting up. This morning, U.S. Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks told Fox the U.S. is on a path towards seeing more immigrants leaving the country than coming in.
Not only are we seeing negative net migration, but we're also seeing those that were starting their journey to come this way, reverse migration.
And so far, we haven't seen similar protests today in Chicago. Border Patrol Chief Greg Bavino says their next stops could be Charlotte or even right here in New York City. Kevin?
Got to keep a close eye on that. Connor Hansen for us. Thank you, Connor. Appreciate that. For more, we are pleased to be joined by former acting ICE Director and Customs and Border Protection Senior Advisor, the great Ron Vitiello. Good to have you with us, my friend. I see these protests happening, and I'm not surprised because I think that's sort of the tone and tenor of where we are in 2025. And yet, there seems to be a more aggressive posture in making arrests so that they can tamp down the disruption. Is that the right strategy?
Well, protests are fine, right? We all believe deeply in the First Amendment, and that's fine. People can go out and militate against the policies, but they can't militate against the police. They can't put hands on ICE officers. They can't get in the way of frontline officers and agents doing their job. But being out there and saying they don't like what's going on, that's fine. But when you put hands on the cops, you're going to go to jail.
You know, and Secretary Noem said, listen, at the end of the day, what we really have to do is get these people out of this country. Many of them have absolutely no right to be here. They may claim asylum. They may say that we're under persecution at home. But let's be honest, the overwhelming majority are economic migrants. She had this to say. Listen, I'll get your reaction on the other side.
And this partnership with Governor DeSantis in Florida is a model that we want to replicate across the country. These individuals should have never been in our country to begin with. The fact that they were sexual deviants and perverts, and now we've gotten them off of our streets, it's remarkable, and we need to do more of it.
And this is one of the things that I think needs to really be hammered home. We're not just talking about somebody who's out cleaning a hotel. We're talking about getting off the streets some of the most dangerous individuals in the entire world.
And local authorities know that, right? Florida, Texas, Missouri, Indiana, other states have leaned in and said, we want to participate in 287G. We want to help clean up our communities by removing people that are here illegally but have also committed other crimes. The governor of California, the governor of Illinois, some of these local mayors, they could do the exact same thing. They could put rules in place where ICE can go and find the worst of the worst in the jails in which their officers have put them in. That's a solution here that brings the temperature down everywhere. But we also have to react to the 20 million plus people who came into the United States during the Biden administration. So the secretary is out front. The president is backing up the front line, making the border safe, safer than it's ever been in a very, very long time, and then making the streets safe by helping local police and removing people who are in the country illegally and commit crime.
Making the border safe, making the streets safe. How about let's make the roadway safe? This CDL circumstance is one that's really got a lot of people up in arms. You have some judges saying, you know, let's slow down on removing the opportunity for these people to have these licenses. And yet, if you can't speak the language It begs the question, how is that making us safer? This is Representative Beth Van Duyne. Get your reaction to what she's saying about this idea that the administration is applying pressure on places like California to stop giving licenses to people who not only can't read the language here, but in many cases should have not come to this country to begin with. Listen to this.
I think withholding some of these transportation highway dollars to these states like California and New York that are giving these things away like candy with no requirements is necessary. We shouldn't have to do it, but seems to be the only thing that these states respect is when you hold back their dollars. It's obviously not the safety of their citizens.
I think she's right. And frankly, it's unsafe if you have people out there who can't do basic English communication.
100%. The trucking industry is vital to the American way of life. We can do it safely. We can protect people. We don't have to have people who don't speak English, who haven't been vetted, who are in the country illegally driving our trucks for us. There's plenty of other Americans that want to do that work.
Yeah, Tom Holman said as much. Listen to his reaction, and I want to ask you a follow-up. Listen to this.
I've been screaming out this for years. You got an illegal alien who don't speak English driving a 3-ton truck down a highway at 75 miles an hour, who can't read a sign, accident ahead, icy bridge ahead. All these danger signs they can't read or understand, and that causes a huge, huge public safety threat.
It's infuriating. People die when this happens.
And this is the beauty of President Trump's leadership. It's about common sense.
Yeah.
We don't have to be in this risk scenario where thousands of people came across the border every night. That is ending. The Interior Immigration Enforcement is necessary to recover from what happened. And things like this are very easy for us to understand. It's common sense. You don't want people out driving these rigs that don't understand the laws, that don't read English, et cetera.
Let me ask you finally, 15 seconds or so, are we making progress in this idea with ICE being able to get cooperation from jails and prisons to get the worst of the worst out of the country instead of us as taxpayers feeding them and housing them?
There's always more to do, but ICE has more 287G partners, people that they are training to help do the immigration enforcement mission against those who are arrested in those cities and towns anyway. So more than ever is being done, and you can see that by the people who are self-deporting.
Terrific to see you as always. Thanks for coming in today, Ron. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.